Hey guys, man, we had a great time today inside the studio. My day of play included 5 different conversations, starting with Chris Epting, who is helping people locate their own memoir. He will show you how to do it, and he's a pro at it because he's been doing it for years. Then we got together with psychic Matt Frazier and actor Aspen Kennedy, who's got a brand new movie out. You've got to see this one. It's called The Forge. Then we get a little spicy in the kitchen with John Cannell. This guy really has a great way to prep things inside your kitchen. And how about this? Moon Unit Zappa has got a brand new book out. She's talking about the Zappa family, and we laughed a lot. Thank you for being here on my day of play. Hello and good morning, everybody.
Hey, Arrow, you got 20 with Chris.
Excellent. Good morning, Chris. How are you doing, guy?
Terrific, Arrow. How are you?
Fantastic. Looking forward to talking with you because this is every bit the reason why I created the iHeartRadio channel, View from the Writing Instrument, to get people to share their stories. Oh, my God.
Perfect. Thank you.
For you to take this journey, I mean, come on, Chris, you know what it's like. You look at someone, you say, you've got to tell your story. I don't feel like it, or I'm not in the mood. What am I going to write? They're going to judge me. How do you get beyond those?
You've got to, that's a good question. And a lot of people do have that anxiety up front. At a certain point, I think it takes, once you can write one story down and get through that one little process, that's usually, for people that have apprehension about it, to me, that's usually the changing moment. Is first you make a list of integral moments in someone's life, and you write one of those stories, and all of a sudden it doesn't seem that tough because you're not writing a book per se. You're just going story by story by story. Some can be long, some can be short. But I think once you begin to reflect and review your life, that becomes an exhilarating process. And so all anxiety, or at least a lot of it, tends to fade away just throughout the process because you're reliving past glories. You're re-meeting old ghosts, and there's something about that, even if it's painful sometimes, that is very life-affirming and really helps you make sense of where you've been and ultimately where you're going.
The importance of what you're sharing with people and showing people the way is the fact that I have nothing from my mother and father or my grandparents, but I do have 30 years of daily writing. So I thought I'm going to end this by making sure that I write. So families need to understand this is an important tool about life.
I agree. I don't think this is all about publishing. There are people that obviously want to have their book out there. They want to sell books. That's fine. But I think the art of storytelling, to me, it's the oldest practiced human art going back to cave drawings 15,000 years ago, where we had to share, as human beings, share what we did that day and what the conflict was and how we got through it. And that, to me, is what's so valuable. And that's why, to your point, oral histories with families, so we can create a living record of just how humanity functioned and how we got through stuff. Because no matter, the next thousands, tens of thousands of years, the one constant thread will be people getting through stuff. There's always going to be conflict. Every day is going to have some degree of conflict. And storytelling, to me, is like the ultimate cure for that, or at least way to coping mechanism for getting through conflict is showing, a good piece of writing, I think, reminds any reader that you're not alone, that somebody knows what you're going through. And that's what's so key, especially when it comes to families and family legacies and the characters and what they got through, because then it'll let you know what, I can endure. I can get through things because 100 years ago, my Uncle Scott did this when he opened his haberdasher on the corner, whatever it happens to be. The stories matter. And so, but then there's people that want to see themselves in a bookstore. That's great. That's an unbelievable goal to shoot for. And I try and accommodate everything in the book. Whatever your writing goal is, I try and address as much as I can in a very comprehensive manner.
You talk about that coping. That is so important because I'll tell you what, in the daily writing that I have, I talk about what it was like to be in radio during the 9/11. I mean, because there are broadcasters out there that have no clue what we went through during 9/11 and as well as the COVID lockdown, Chris. And it's things like this that really will inspire.
Well, that's key what you just said, because the word memoir, which I use a lot in the book, it's French for memory. When people write a memoir, that's not an autobiography. An autobiography is your entire life, which, let's face it, unless you're a well-known personality, most people aren't going to read autobiographies unless you're some sort of actor, athlete, some big personality. But memoir is different because memoir focuses on very specific experiences that are not so broad-based, but very specific. And that's where anybody can write a compelling memoir. In your case, you're talking about COVID and 9/11. That's great memoir topic because there are people born today that will never know what that's like.
Yep.
What I mean, and so that's a good example.
One of the greatest things that you've got with this book, Where One Ear Hears the Rain, is the fact that having that book, David Duchovny on his podcast recently said that he's reading a book that was 50 years old. He says those books still have energy in them. Can you imagine someone's memoir?
Well, that's the key. I mean, a good story never loses its magic. You know what I mean? It really doesn't. I read books from the 1700s, 1800s. And if it's well told, if there are compelling characters and some nice dialogue and great conflict, I mean, that's what storytelling is. And I've got lots of different prompts and stories and things within the book to help anybody get there. I don't consider myself a fancy writer on any level, and I want this book to appeal to somebody that's never put pen to paper, to someone who's been published many times and everyone in between. That to me was key, was to not deny anybody the opportunity to at least take a shot at telling their story.
You said three of my favorite words: pen to paper. I love my writing instruments. How can we get people to use the writing instrument and not necessarily speak into their phone?
Well, listen, we're in a transitional state in terms of communication, and I'm not going to judge it because I'm guilty sometimes. If I have a thought, I'll record it. But I do I am totally married to my yellow legal pads and my number 2 pencils and pens and all that as well. Not so much for writing as much as rough sketching story ideas and outlines and lists and things like that. But my attitude is, look, whatever mode that you use to communicate, to put things down in some kind of permanent or at least semi-permanent basis, it's cool. Just when you do it, be as descriptive as you can. Think about the reader. Are you making them feel like they are with you? If you're at a ball game, do they feel like they're sitting next to you at the ball game? I mean, I think really strong writing in this kind of narrative sense, it's pretty basic. It's being very descriptive and very immersive and using your 5 senses. And again, I go into a lot of this stuff in the book while sharing stories of having worked with people like John Oates, like the Doobie Brothers, where I described their process and what we went through together to get them to a point where they could tell their stories effectively.
Yeah, because they are telling stories in 3.5 minutes, and now you've got to get a book out of them? Oh, my God, what a challenge, Chris.
Well, but that's a good point. But what you do, especially in the case of talking about music, is what got them to those 3 minutes. I mean, I remember Pat Simmons telling me about writing the song Black Water, and how he described his whole day that day in New Orleans of hopping on a streetcar, taking his laundry to a downtown laundromat. The Doobies had a day off, and just how the day unfolded. And all of a sudden, Black Water isn't just a 3-minute song anymore. It's this beautiful day spent in New Orleans that, and so when you hear this song again, hopefully if you've read the book, you think of it on a different level.
So do you believe in the theory that Mark Twain did? Put it in your own accent. In other words, don't try to be somebody. Be yourself on that page, and who cares if it's written wrong?
I do agree with that. I mean, look, you don't want to be sloppy, and I think, and I'm hardly a grammarian, but I do think the capturing your unique literary footprint is very important. And people tend sometimes to over polish and make it fancy or perfect, and that's not what it's about. Think about, I was equated, there's a whole chapter in the book about why it's like cooking. Everyone in a kitchen, you give anybody the same ingredients, they can make the same meal, but in a different way. They're gonna mix up the amounts they use based on their taste. And writing is like that too. We can all retell the same story, but we're gonna do it in our own way, with our own words and our own attitude. And that's what really matters, is making sure you're authentic to yourself when you write it.
The writing disciplines of putting a memoir together. Is it okay to contact family and friends? Because sometimes their interpretation of a relationship can be completely different.
It's critical. I always think that, wherever possible, offering alternate perspectives is a great way to unpack a story. Because, look, I always use an example in a writing workshop that I do. If we all walked out and saw a car accident, God forbid, depending on how we write about it would depend on where we were standing. And if you were meaning you were on the other side Arrow, and I didn't see what you saw, it doesn't mean your truth is wrong. It means you saw it differently. And it would be important to talk to you about what you saw. I could put it in my own words with your permission, but getting different perspectives is a wonderful way to actually build accuracy, which matters, and, and complete parts of it that we just weren't privy to.
Don't you think the average person just doesn't understand how interesting they really are until they start asking themselves questions?
Yeah, I think most people are modest, when it comes to looking at their life and not wanting to sort of beat their chest over things. But I think what I've watched happen for more than 10 years now in classes and workshops especially, those are the people, the ones that are very reticent up front to thinking they're interesting or anything like that. They're the ones that will find a couple of key stories in their life that other people will say to them, that's amazing. How can you not share that? And they'll get encouragement. I love watching that happen in a room. And they'll realize that, yeah, we've all got instances and experiences we've had that really are unique to us. We may not think about it in those terms, that once people start reacting to it, we recognize that, yes, we were lucky to go through certain things that were specific, that were unique, that are worth sharing, because other people, the readers in this case, can learn from those things.
As that leader and that instructor, how do you face that wall when someone says, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Am I doing it right? What do you think? What do you think? Because I don't want to discourage anybody, because and so what I try to do is I get them to talk to me. Tell me what you think of what's going on.
I think that's smart. I do a similar thing. I often find myself adopting what I think would probably be the role of a therapist almost, where you're listening, you're being an active listener, and you're trying to guide them toward those points that really matter. In terms of critique, you've got to offer some kind of critique, obviously. You don't want to be Pollyanna about everything, but I think gentle critique, when people are opening their hearts up, you got to be careful because they're in a more vulnerable state at that point. And so you want to critique gently, focus on positives, obviously. But then if something's not working from a narrative standpoint, help them with organization, help them maybe look for better ways to describe something. One of the key factors in the book is showing and not telling. So don't say it's cold outside. Show the reader it's cold outside. Show the breath in the air. Show the icicles. You know what I mean? A lot of it's that. I often find myself in gentle critique mode, looking for showing and not telling opportunities.
What about poetry? Because there's a lot of people that write in a very poetic way, and I always call that hidden speak. They write in their own language, and when a reader comes by, it's like, I don't get it.
It's funny you ask that, because lately I'm no poet by any stretch, but in the last 6 weeks, I have found myself writing poems, and it's taught me a lot. It's as a result of having met somebody. And I never really scratched that literary itch before. I'd always kind of wanted to, and I had tinkered a bit, but it really made me realize, and again, there's a little bit of this in the book as well, on how important a muse can be to inspire you sometimes, where maybe you didn't consider yourself a poet, maybe you're not a poet, but you can still give it a good try, and you can work at it if somebody inspires you. And I think looking for personal inspirations in terms of storytelling, poetry, any kind of verbal representation is a good thing. We're surrounded by people that affect us. As I talk about in the book, let them affect you. Be open to the idea that someone's presence can help you create and can help you do things you never thought about doing before.
How do you get someone to be open enough to go into the buried dirt and or the crowded cave? Because, I mean, there's so much in there that needs to be shared.
That's a great question. For me, it's about the simple point of that the best way to get through your pain or the fear is to confront it head on. And we all pack away stories in our head for so long because we're scared of them. But when you confront them and you get them down on paper and you deal with them, that to me is how you wrestle away the control, and you begin controlling the pain rather than let the demons controlling you. I think confronting it in story form is a very healthy way to do it. It's not easy all the time, but I think it's the best way to confront things.
What you're doing with this book is amazing in the way that you are giving forward is what you're doing. Is this something that John Cheever opened the door for you to do?
Absolutely. I mean, what really strikes me is when I first went to see him when I was about 12,
Wow.
he was like an old man. He struck me. Here's this old writer in this beautiful colonial home behind this old, this antique desk. And I did the math when the book was, when I was wrapping it up, and I thought, I'm his age right now that he was when I first saw him. He was 62. And I thought, wow, what an interesting thing. This is where I'm at life. And I thought about where he was at life. And yeah, he definitely, I mean, I watched him with other people and I knew he taught a lot. And so, yeah, I answer everybody who reaches out pretty much as I can. I think it's important. And I try and spend as much time in teaching sessions and giving as much as he can, because I know how hard the process can be. But I've also had other great teachers who they don't know they're teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of students in my world, which you may have experienced as well. They show you the way by opening up in ways you've never seen before. Working with co-write, collaborative things like John Oates and the Doobie Brothers and Dave Mason, they've taught me, because here are these people I grew up massive fans of, and yet they're letting me into their world and they're sharing their legacy stories. So I learned from others watching them go through their process. And I address that in the book, that oftentimes the best teachers are the students.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially with these musicians, because I've been with both of those guys, Hall & Oates and the Doobie Brothers. And the thing is the thing that I've always learned about them is that the process of writing is receiving. And I think sometimes when people are putting down their memories, they're forgetting to receive it. They feel like, well, I got to talk about this. I got to talk this. You got to receive it first.
Exactly. And you have to go through that first phase of, I got to talk about this.
Yeah.
But oftentimes the better stuff, the really relevant storytelling elements are not the obvious. It's what's behind the obvious 2 or 3 layers in. And that's the patient process of getting people to comb through those layers. And really, as a whole story about John Oates, because I've got stories in the book about what it's like to work with those people and what our defining moments were. And John and I had a moment in a hotel where, I was on the road with Hall & Oates, because John and I worked a lot when he was traveling, and the promoter had sent this beautiful, like they always did, like a 5-foot basket of fruit, and it was covered in cellophane. And we were early in the process, and I said to John, you know what? I got to be honest, that cellophane kind of makes me think of where we are at right now. I said, you're telling me good stories, but you're not letting me really get to the fruit. And I think we have to sort of proverbially remove the cellophane in your storytelling to get to the heart of things. And that resonated with him. And from that moment on, he was a lot more open, and it developed into a very deep friendship as well as a collaborative writing partnership. And I thought, you know what, that's the kind of lesson. So I tell that story in the book about being in that hotel, because I want people to be with me through those instances and really know what it's like to work with these people.
One of the things, and I'm excited to hear what your answer is going to be, one of the things about being a writer or to share your memories like this is the fact that you get emotional. Don't be afraid of the different shades that you're going to go into. How do you deal with that?
You don't. You let it happen.
Yes.
When we've had hundreds of people shedding tears when they get up and read stories in classes, and they'll be hesitant, and by that point the group will encourage them and say, no, that just means it's like you've struck gold. When something is that moving that it pushes you to that point, it means you've gotten to the stuff that really matters. So don't deal with it. Let it happen. Feel things, let things resonate, let it go. And you'll feel lighter afterwards. It may be hard at certain points while you're doing it, but I think it's a very cathartic process. And there's a whole little subchapter in the book called, Is It Okay to Cry? It's so funny you said that. And I unpacked that whole thing of why I don't think it's okay. I think it's actually, it's useful. It's important to do it. It's important to get to that point as much as you can.
This book and what you're doing with writers is so important, because Barnes & Noble isn't letting we writers in there to talk to people anymore. It's just the invitation is not there. So listeners need to understand that you are extending your experience to them so they can learn.
That's all I wanted to do. Honestly, I really thought if I never wrote another book, at least I could say that I took a shot for the person that sits at home that's always told, yeah, you should tell your story. You should write a book. Or somebody that just thinks about their grandparents and maybe capturing their story. It didn't matter to me what people's motives or goals were. I just wanted to create a space within the two book covers, where people could open it almost anywhere and get something out of it that's tangible, that's relevant, that's inspiring, that helps them get to this point where they feel like sharing. That's that simple for me.
Do you have a nickname for your writing? Because and this is going to sound dark, but I call it bleeding ink. I got to go bleed some ink right now.
Well, it's funny because there's a Hemingway quote in the book where it's basically said, writing isn't that big of a deal. You just sit at a typewriter and bleed. I mean, which I always love. No, we quit. I've called it storytellers for 10 years just because I couldn't think of anything else. It just sort of became that, my writing groups. And it's really just that. I mean, again, I should, brand it at some point, but now that I've got Where One Hears the Rain, that to me is sort of a nice envelope, because that's from a John Cheever quote where he basically said, a great piece of prose, a great page of prose is where one hears the rain, one hears the sound of battle, just basically describing good descriptive writing and why that matters.
Wow. Where can people go to find out more, Chris? Because you're reaching beyond just the pages of a book here.
Well, the book is everywhere that you can get books. I mean, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's got great distribution through Simon & Schuster. I'm very proud of that. There's, of course, a Kindle version. I'll be cutting an audio version soon. So it's wherever you find books. It's easy to find. It's available now. And again, I'm very excited about it. And again, even if you think you can't write, I think this book could prove you wrong, because everybody can sit down. Just like anybody can sing, maybe not sing well at first, but you have to start somewhere. And that's what this book is all about. It's about a starting point, and then it's about a gradual process that hopefully will unleash your voice.
Wow. One of these days, Chris, after all these years, we got to get together face to face and not over the phone. We got to do a face to face sometime.
I would love that, Ara. Next time I'm back in your neck of the woods, back in beautiful North Carolina, we'll do that. Or similarly, if you're out here, just let me know.
I'll do it, man. You be brilliant today, okay?
You too, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
We are here right now in New York at Premier Networks iHeartRadio Studios. We are doing a radio tour, so I am over your heads right now in so many different cities. We're going from city to city to city. My new book, Don't Wait Till You're Dead, is available right now. Olivia, thank you for the follow. I'm not ignoring you guys. I wonder if... No, all right.
Arrow, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. Matt is he's multitasking.
Arrow, I was sorry. I was just talking to dead people, Arrow.
Okay, you have until top of the hour. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Matt, when we get together, we're going to talk deep. So I'm anxious to talk very deep with you again, sir.
Absolutely. Go right ahead. I'm ready for it.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I want to tell you how proud I am for you to do this. Don't wait till you're dead, because you are so spot on. There are so many wise people on this planet in physical form. They don't realize they've got the gift.
Well, absolutely. But what I know as a medium is that we all have a gift. What souls tell me is that we all have a way to reach our loved ones, speak to our loved ones, and to connect with the other side. We just have to discover what that is. We have to discover how we're psychic. Are you psychic through your dreams? Are you super sensitive, where you can feel people's pain, feel people's emotions? Is it that, you know things before they happen? We are all given a phone line to heaven. And in fact, many children will actually see and hear the spirit world as well.
Wow. My dog is in the studio with me, and she's making all these noises, and I'll bet you 10-1 there's a spirit working through her to make sure that she's going, amen, you got it. That's exactly what it's all about, Matt.
Well, what's funny is that pets do have a psychic sense as well. Pets can see and hear spirit. And it's actually funny because many times when I do readings and souls pass away, they'll tell me that they come back and visit their pets still here on this earth. So if all of a sudden you feel a presence within your room and your dog is going crazy, but no one's there, it's most likely a spirit visitor from the afterlife.
Well, I've always told people that your pet has not transitioned. They're just in the other room. They're still with you. Just don't think of them as being dead. They're in the other room.
That's exactly what it is. It's the same thing with the souls, right? There is no such thing as dead in my world, but there is a change of worlds. And that's really what our loved ones in spirit want us to know as well, because with that change in worlds, it also means that we can get in touch with the spirit world ourselves. We can get in touch with anyone that we've lost, whether it be through our dreams, through signs, or through through psychics and mediums like myself.
Don't you think that you're one of the pioneers and one of the very honest ones that have really kind of gotten us into this mode of don't think of death as being gone forever, but think of it as a transition, or think of it as a celebration of life. We've needed leaders like you to really kind of give us more of a positive outlook instead of, oh my God, it's coming to an end.
Well, yeah, I think that you need that because listen, grief is a normal factor of life. And the sad part is that you have to get through it, right? We all go through grief. Believe it or not, Aro, there's actually psychics and mediums that come to me that even go through grief. Grief touches everybody. I've read for priests going through grief. I've read for psychics and mediums going through grief. Grief touches all of us. It's a normal thing that we go through. But when we're going through it, we feel like there's no way out. So what I do as a medium is I want to show people that, listen, don't look at what's in front of you. Don't think that your loved one is gone forever, because there's not. And the moment that you get yourself out of grief, you can learn to communicate with your loved ones in a totally different way.
All right. Now, I'm a firm believer that I am the character in Russell Crowe's movie. And I feel that there are several spirits that are walking with me at one time. And for some reason, they give me the power of choice. Do you believe in that theory?
I believe that there are certain things meant for us here in this world. Mm-hmm. It's what the souls have told me. And for example, one of the things that we go through this life preview, and we also go through a life review. So the life preview is before we're born, before we enter this world, we're actually given little hints about our life purpose and what we're meant to do. And what I've learned from the spirit world is that we're also given certain gifts. So before we're born here on this earth, we're given little gifts. For example, the gift of song. Maybe you're a songwriter. Maybe you're a singer. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a natural healer. Maybe you're a psychic medium, right? Maybe you're an architect, right? These are all God-given gifts that we're born with that, and discover early on. And we're meant to do something with them later on within life. Some people, embrace these gifts. Some people don't know how. And some people shut them away because they're too anxious or scared or because of self-doubt or not believing in themselves.
Yeah. Just you saying that brings back so many memories of a painting that I did, and it's of a child who's about ready to enter the world. His hand is connected to God, and behind them is a book. And I always tell people, your book of life was left in heaven. Now you've got to rewrite that book on memory. Go do it.
It's true. It's true. The thing is that's what I want to show people, is that when you're living life here in this world, you have multiple life purposes, right? We all think we just have one. You have multiple. Yeah. Your life purpose changes over time. And the more that you can learn about why God and heaven put you here on earth, the more that you can get as close to that life purpose as possible and help as many people as you can.
The soul's arrival on earth, isn't it a collected set of energies? I mean, once you're born, it's almost like you're never alone.
Oh, absolutely. The moment that you're born here on earth, you enter this world and you have two souls that are leading you and guiding you and that stay with you for life. So before you've been born, you're assigned a spirit guide and you're assigned a guardian angel. Yep. And these two souls stay with you through life. And you might be wondering, well, where the hell was my guardian angel when this happened? Where was my spirit guide when this happened? Well, at the end of your life, you get to meet these two souls, and you also get to understand how they helped you within life. And you can ask them any question that you want, and they're there to answer it.
I got to ask you a question. Do you have spiritual tools around you? Only because this studio here is full of nothing but spiritual tools. And I think they serve as a reminder of where we can grow, not necessarily where we've been.
So in my office, I do. In my office, it's not just spiritual tools, but I have all different things that represent different religions,
yes,
right? That welcome different people into my office and into my home and into my life, because, I welcome anybody. What I've learned is that whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether you don't believe, everybody goes to one heaven, right? And there's something beautiful that we can learn from all religions. And I learn every day from the conversations that I've had with the afterlife.
In the process of learning to love all living things, Native American spirituality has taught us that even if you find a dead owl or any kind of animal on the highway, pull it off and set it free inside a burial ground of their own. I believe that you've got to learn how to set spirits free as well.
That's absolutely true. And I think that that's one of the things that holds us in grief is when we hold on to our loved ones, right? When we're so afraid of letting go. Letting go does not mean that you let go of your loved ones in spirit, right? What letting go means is that you let go of the circumstances around their passing. You let go of that last final moment that you saw. You let go of the illness, the pain, the hurt, all of those things, because in letting go, you learn to open your heart back up and you learn to communicate with them in a different way. The one thing that I've seen as a medium is you would not believe how many people stop singing, dancing, doing cooking, doing the things that they love after losing a loved one. And, what I want people to know is that when you move on from that pain, then you're able to do these things and you're able to feel your loved ones by your side.
Oh my God, because I stopped painting because of such a thing that you did, and I have not put a brush in my hand ever since. So the fact that you even bring that up, you were meant to say that today.
Listen, I believe that nothing just comes out of my mouth for, just to say. I believe that everything that I'm saying to you right now and that I speak, is meant to be spoken because there's someone that can connect with it. And just like you did just now.
What about the changing period? Because you know that with a book like Don't Wait Till You're Dead, people are going to change. They've got to understand the evolution of their imagination.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. We are creative, spiritual beings, right? And when we tap into that creativity, that is the same muscle that we use to connect with our own psychic ability. So I realized that a lot of people who are really psychic, really tapped in and tuned in, they're very creative, right? They're artists. They're painters, they're visionaries, you name it. So the thing is that, when you tap into that creative muscle, you're not just tapping into, your inner artist, you're actually tapping into your own psyche as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, you talked about how the religious leaders and different mediums come to you to be replenished. Where do you go to get replenished? Because, look, you give away a lot, Matt. You know you do.
I gotta be honest with you. So the best vacation that I have is a vacation by myself. Yep. When I go on vacation, I don't want to see anybody living or dead. So I have a couple hideaways that I go to. One is my backyard. The second is I have a place in Florida. And for the longest time, Arrow, I wouldn't do readings in Florida. I wouldn't tour in Florida because I'm like, I don't want the dead finding me here. Like, this is like, I have boundaries where when I go to my place in Florida, it's like, okay, you are not allowed to bother me. If you are dead, you are not, I love you, appreciate you. You're not allowed to bother me. When I am in Florida, because that's my time to recharge, because to be able to do this work, right, and to be able to deliver the messages that I do, I have to be in a good place, right? I can't be anxious or nervous or stressed or sad or any of those things, right? And delivering these messages can weigh heavily on your energy. So you also have to make sure that there's time set aside to relax and recharge, so that every time I meet someone and I do a reading, I'm my best for that person.
Yeah, you've got to develop those disciplines, and those for instance, like I will, for some stupid reason, creative people wake up at midnight thinking, oh, it's a brand new day, let's get started. I come with rules. Do not speak to me after midnight, spirit guides. I am not available until that sun rises.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. But you know what? That's also receiving hours. Oh. For some reason, it's true. If you keep waking up at like 3 in the morning, 3:33 in the morning, that's the time when the souls do visit us, because it's that in-between moment of sleep and awake that souls are able to deliver us messages. And those are the teaching hours in heaven, or the spirit visitation hours, I like to call them.
Man. So then when you sit down with somebody, first of all, I'm going to go this direction. You know that by writing a book like this, in your own creative way, Matt, you see eyes that are welcoming change. You don't have to be in the room with them. You know in your heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the one thing that I really want to show people in writing this book is I really want to show people, the inner depths of the afterlife. So many people are afraid. So many people are asking me that question. What happens when I die? Is my loved one okay? Is there an afterlife? What did my loved one go through? And the only way they can answer that question is to really show people what their loved ones have gone through based on the visions that I've seen as a medium and the readings that I've done. So this book is filled with all of the stories, all of the information that spirits have showed me through their journey to the afterlife.
You cover something inside this book that I thought for sure that you looked deep inside my heart and saw it, is that when I was a kid, the preacher man said that when you get into heaven, God's going to play this movie and it's going to be of your life. You speak of that. And I'll tell you, what that preacher said changed my life, because I don't want to watch a bad movie.
It's true. It's so true. And that's what I want to remind people now, is that it's hard, right? Being here on earth, being a human is really, really tough. We have bills, we have finances, we have stress, we have illness, we have all of these things. But, what's also amazing is to realize that we only have one life, right? We only get one chance at this life here on earth. So while you're here, while you're living and breathing in this life, do the best that you can. Use the tools and resources that God has given you. Lean into your life purpose, figure out what it is, because when you're leaning into your life purpose, doors open. when you're not going down the road that God wants for you, doors shut.
You speak of living one life, but let me ask you a question, because you also spoke about studying all different forms of religion. I've studied Buddhism. I know that there will be a new life after I pass. Will it be a blade of grass? Will it be a deer? Will it be a dog? I don't know who I'm going to be. How do we prepare for things like that?
Well, you don't. Right now, it's all about living your life right now.
Right.
You know, it's not about getting caught up in the future. I think that that's where we miss out as humans, right? Is we're always thinking about the future. We're always thinking about what's to come, where right now it's about living in that present moment.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, because, I mean, we spend so much time, really kind of bastardizing ourselves because, I'm a failure. Learn from that. Talk to somebody beside you that you don't see. They're going to show you how to not feel like that failure.
Absolutely. Listen, there's all the time when we get lost. I was lost once, right? When I was a little kid, I would always sense and feel spirit. And then, I had pushed this ability away because I didn't understand. Yep. But I always could sense and feel people on a different level. So for me, I felt when I was feeling people's pain, feeling people's energy, that the fact that I was super sensitive, I always felt like I had to be in the healthcare field. So I started my journey as an EMT, where I worked at the World Trade Center in Boston, thinking that was my life purpose, thinking that was my journey. I felt like I was supposed to follow this into the healthcare field. I thought I was going to be a physician's assistant. I thought I had my life all figured out until I went to a medium myself, and I realized one thing. I realized I was doing it wrong. I realized that what God really wanted was for me to help people on a different way, that I found myself lost in helping people on the physical level, but I could help people on the spiritual level, healing from past pain of losing a loved one. And it wasn't until I made that leap over that I realized, oh my God, I was doing it wrong. And I think that that's what so many people don't realize, right? Is that they realize that they might be on the wrong path, or they might be on the wrong journey in life, and they're too afraid to make that step. They're too afraid to transition over. And that's where I want to be the tool in the toolbox to help.
Oh my God, I was doing some heavy research today on the definition of codependent, and the way that you described about I needed to be with people to help them with their health. I needed to do this. I needed to do this. How did you make that transition from really kind of being codependent to being, I am a leader, let me show you the way?
What's weird is that I don't know how this all came to be honest with you.
Good for you.
It was like, no, honestly, it was a divine thing that happened. And this is what I want to show people, is that like when you are meant to be on a certain road, on a certain journey, heaven will help you. When people give you the 99 reasons why it's not going to work for you, which happened to me when I went to go and be a psychic medium by myself, everyone gave me the 99 reasons why it won't work. But what I've learned through this process is that heaven sees the one reason why it will. And that's all that matters. When I first started this journey of being a medium, all of a sudden there were people that came into my life that just saw what I was doing, knew that I could help people, and wanted to help me in return. All of a sudden people were seeking me out, being like, Matt, I can help you get, to this person. I can help you get to this video show. I can help you do this. I can help you do that. And all of a sudden there was just this tribe that came behind me. And I'm like, where the hell did all these people come from? And I think that's what it is when you look at your life in reverse, you see how you've met certain people and why certain people were given to you within life. Like I look back all the time and I see my publicist and my tour manager and, the people that are in life that I didn't think were going to be in these roles, all of a sudden are. And I know that it was all part of heaven's plan.
I want to see your journals. Dude, I want to see I want to see what you're scribbling down on that paper, because to me, that's a journey too. That's where the spirit makes themselves known to your eyes.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, what's cool is that it's almost like when those scribbles come out, it's like putting your mind to paper, right? Everything that's in your mind, it's like when you're writing, you're channeling, it flows through you.
All right, one subject that we have not covered yet: when a spirit is trapped between two worlds. I mean, I bet you your focus heats up in that moment. So
first of all, as I sip my coffee, what I can tell you is that there is an in-between, right? There is an area where of the spirit world that we don't like to talk about, that I don't like to talk about, Arrow, but I'll talk about it with you. And that is, the dark side of psychic ability, earthbound spirits. Earthbound spirits are souls that do not transition over to the other side. So the same way that we have jails here in this world, there's kind of like a spirit jail on the other side of souls that unfortunately never make it to heaven because they were so evil here in this world that even God himself can't change them back to, being pure. So that's known as, I mean, there's so many different terms that people give it: earthbound spirits, souls that don't cross over. There's evil spirits, maleficent spirits, you name it. They're all in one place, right? And that is that they're earthbound, meaning that they haven't transitioned on. And that's why it's so important not to play with Ouija boards, spirit boxes, any of those things, because, you think that you're reaching the higher vibration when literally you're reaching the lower vibration, right? Lower souls can come in and talk through those devices. It's really scary. You have to know what you're doing. And I'm going to tell you this right now. As a medium, I've only seen a few people who have actually genuinely been haunted or had spirit attachments. And those people who have had that happen to them are the people who have used spirit boxes, Ouija boards. And I'm not saying that they just did it and it happened, right? They did it time and time again. They went looking for trouble and trouble found them.
Wow. Where can people go to find out more about you, Matt? Because, you're all over the place. People need to come see you. They need to get this book into their lives.
So you don't have to be dead to find me. If you go to my website, meetmattfrazier.com, that's meetmattfrazier.com. That's where you can find my tour dates, live events, books, courses, you name it. But also don't forget my newest book, Don't Wait Till You're Dead, is available right now. It just dropped. It's available in bookstores all across the country, and also Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and on Audible if you want me to read it to you.
Oh, God, that's the best thing right there. Jeez. All right, man. Well, we're going to get together again in the future. Because we're just connected that way.
Thank you, Arrow. I so appreciate you.
You be brilliant today, okay?
All right, you too.
You latch through, you can say hello.
Hello and good morning. How are you doing, Aspen?
Good morning. Pretty good. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic, and very excited to talk to you because, man, this is what it's all about. Learning how to spread the word in a way that is like, wow, this could be me. I can grow from this.
Yes.
How did you get involved with this project? Because, it's an open door for you to reach out and be with real people.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to audition last year and had a couple callbacks, a producer session, a chemistry read. And when I read the script and the original background, I was like, man, I would love to be a part of a project like this. And when it came through, I was so grateful, man.
The movie we're talking about is The Forge, and a year out of school, and moms are just being mobs. All they want, Isaiah, is just to get into a better place and have a greater journey, and you're on your way.
Yes. Like you said, he's about a 19-year-old. He's been abandoned by his father, and he doesn't have a clear sense of direction for his life, but he does have a praying mom who prays for him. And he does meet a businessman who pours into him and teaches him about biblical principles, and it changes his life for the better.
You're not afraid to talk about the prayer, and I love that about this because Miss Clara, she's a prayer warrior.
Yeah.
Oh, we all know these prayer warriors, and we are lifted to them.
Oh, yeah, we are. And like I said, it's such a powerful theme. You have the prayer of the themes of discipleship, prayer, forgiveness, and just the importance of pouring into the next generation, because we do have that power and responsibility, especially when we look at today's time. It's so important and so needed right now.
Well, you speak the truth inside this movie in the way that Isaiah's father is not with him. And I didn't get the chance to meet my father. And maybe that's the reason why I'm so attracted to this, because it's like, wow, Isaiah did this. And it's almost like Isaiah is living up to this image like Isaiah does in the Bible.
Yeah, it's so interesting, too, because going to what you said as well, I didn't grow up with my father. So when I read the script, I was like, man, I felt so seen at a point where I was like, even though my father wasn't there, I was graced to not carry that anger or bitterness because I had so many friends who didn't have their father growing up as well. So I thought it was normal. But to know, looking back over my life now, that God was the heavenly father in my life. And I meet people now that's like, I know both of your parents are proud, them not knowing that I only had my mom growing up. But it's a thing where God has restored that relationship. Because similar to Isaiah, I reached out to my father years ago and forgave him. But just to know that God wanted me to do that years ago, and this film and this opportunity came through last year, and this kind of mirroring my life. So I was just so grateful and surprised at the point where I'm like, man, this has been my personal life. So it was pretty cool to be a part of this project.
See, so many of us have that same story. As a child, I felt lost. Where's my dad? But as an adult, I'm never alone. Yep. I've got God. I'm never alone.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the powerful thing that so many people need to know, and I believe they will grasp in this film, that you are never alone. You have people, if they're not in reach, we can also pray for people to be sent to our lives to be able to help us, not only just mold us and shape us in just responsibility or in our goals and ambitions, but to say, hey, this is how God sees you to be at a personal level, and he has these plans for you. And sometimes, if you don't have that father, it's kind of hard to believe or how can I trust a Heavenly Father if my real dad wasn't there? But it's a thing where God is a perfect God and a perfect Father, to the point where when we surrender and trust, that's all we need to do to allow him to make himself known in our lives.
So true. I love that Isaiah is a protagonist, because we see them every single day. But to me, that's the first step toward discovering faith and trust.
Yeah. Because like you said, there are so many people, strangers in the grocery stores, people we may bypass, to a point where, okay, who is somebody in my life or in my past and that I can be intentional about saying hello or saying, hey, how was your day, but really meaning it? Because I believe that opens the door to be able to be that kind person to somebody, to say, hey, I see you. And a lot of times, so many people overlook those people. And it's a thing where everyone needs to feel seen and feel loved and understood, to a point where, hey, everybody's looking for answers. But if we lead them through truth, I believe everyone will get to that place where God ultimately wants everybody to be.
Aspen, we're on the same page here, because during the lockdown, I took on a job at a grocery store because I was starving to be with people. And one of the things that I've learned in my journey to be at that grocery store is, I asked myself one day, are people happy to see you? No, they're happy that I see them. Mm-hmm. And that is so important. See other people.
Yeah. And I love that story you just shared as well, because that's the importance of, that's why we're all here. And, even in people get excited about, man, you're doing this, you're doing that. I'm like, man, I'm so grateful to be able to be a part and be a vessel for people to see, not me, but the message that's being expressed, because everyone, we're all in this together. We're not alone. So it's a thing, we're just taking the time to, be a servanthood, so to speak, to be a servant, to say, hey, let me serve this person. Let me think about their needs. Like you said, asking people, hey, how are you? Or, I see you. That makes the total difference. And it makes people feel seen and just loved by just making sure that, hey, you care about the person that's standing right in front of you. Yeah. And that's so important and needed in today's time. Well,
you know how people are, Aspen, when it comes to any type of spirituality or religion, they like to hide in their corners and they don't want to talk about it and they don't want to bring it out to the street. But Isaiah begins to receive, and we watch Isaiah grow.
Yeah, you get to watch him grow. You get to see his journey. You get to see his mistakes and his attitude in the very beginning, but also witnessing the power and the transformation that happens when he chooses to do something that he didn't understand previously. Like he says, he has a mentor that pours into him and teaches him about biblical principles. And then you get to see his heart lighten up. You get to see, his attitude changes. You get to see how he talks to people differently, and it's just a thing where he was carrying that anger and bitterness and not knowing that it was an overflow of how he treated people around him, and in terms of being responsible as well. But when he surrendered his life and his heart, he became the young man that everybody wanted to be around. So it wasn't about just him, but it was about his heart posture that changed, that ultimately allowed his life to change for the better.
This movie serves so many different levels. I mean, there are some young teens that need to watch this movie in the way of, instead of saying, I'm lost, be found. This movie gives you a seed to be found. And more importantly, it also serves as a reminder to adults.
Yeah, like you said, I believe so many generations will be impacted by this. You have the older generation, the younger generation, because someone will see themselves, even if it's someone who didn't have their father. If it's somebody to say, you know what, I have to go find somebody to mentor and to pour into. Or you may have just the people who are rooting for you or cheering for you in your life to say, hey, I may not see you every single day, but I'm praying for you. And just to seeing how the community is so important to be able to say, hey, I am not in this alone. It does truly take a village. And it will inspire and ignite everybody to be intentional about taking action from whatever perspective they feel led to in their hearts.
Yeah. The movie we're talking about is The Forge. With a story so beautiful like this one is there a website? Because you know how people are. Their eyes are glued to that smartphone. They're going to want to know where to go.
Oh, yeah. So theforgemovie.com is where you can go get tickets and watch the trailer. You get all information regarding the movie. And also, The Forge Movie is on Instagram as well.
Wow. Outside of acting, what are you doing?
Yeah, so me and my wife, we're actually launching so it's called Parable Mount Pictures, because I want to also do my own films to inspire and impact people too. So that's something in the very beginning stages. And she just started her women's podcast. It's also a ministry. It's called Heavenly Citizens Club. So those are in the very beginning stages, but we're really excited to get that out into the world as well.
Wow. It's so funny because I just heard a podcast with David Duchovny, who says that he loves getting with the actors at their early stages, because when they become gigantic actors, becoming, Oscar winners, you can always look back on conversations just like this and say, Aspen, do you remember when your wife's project was just starting? We talked about it.
Yeah. I know, right? It's the power of media, man.
Absolutely. You got to come back to this show anytime in the future, dude. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And thanks for sharing your story as well, man. Definitely impacted by that.
You be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you, man. You too.
Thank you. Hello and good morning, everybody.
Morning, Arrow.
There you are.
Good morning.
What's going on?
Here I am, and I'm not even drowning. How about you, John? We had some massive rain last night.
I heard about that.
Yeah, it was like, where exactly are you, John?
Oh,
I'm in New York.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm on Long Island. We got like 8 to 10 inches here. The roads are flooded. The Stony Brook road collapsed. It's like
I'm
crazy.
A hotel high up, and the kids are like, "What's that giant thunder sound?" And I was like, "It's thunder, honey. Go back to sleep."
Yeah. We had a lot of lightning and thunder, and I don't think it's over yet. I think it's supposed to get more this afternoon, so hopefully not too much.
It's a beautiful day right now from my window.
Yeah, right now it's beautiful, but that can change in a blink of an eye.
wow.
Not my first day on the East Coast.
Yeah. I hear you. All right, Arrow, you've got 18 with John, so take it away.
Hello and good morning, John. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Dude, I'm excited to talk with you because you speak a street here that I really can relate with a preppy kitchen, because my wife and I, since the lockdown, have really shared that kitchen together. And I need books like this because we love to be inspired as well as influenced.
Oh, well, thank you. This book is here for you and for everyone who wants to make delicious food but does not have a lot of time, which honestly is me today.
Well, one of the things that you cover is the fact that, make a meal that can basically be spread out throughout the week. And that's exactly how we think. How many meals can we get out of this, and how can we reinvent it along the way?
Exactly. Whenever I use an air fryer in a recipe, I double the recipe. I have 2 air fryers at my house, and they're just going because I want to have the meal that we're going to eat now, and then we're going to have it for lunch the next day. That's just how it works.
I can relate with that, and the reason being is we also have 2 air fryers and the Instapot. And that's what I love about modern day technology. It is so useful these days.
Yeah, I made sure to include all the time-saving tools that we love. So, like for my chicken parm in the book, you could bake it off. It'll be perfect. Or you can use it in your air fryer, and it's going to be delicious and crispy too.
See, and it's one thing like that with the chicken parmesan is that I will turn that into a soup on let's say day number 3, because the spices are already there. I've got my broth. Let's create a soup, put in some ramen or something.
Yeah, delicious. It works. And it's all about making food that you enjoy. So all the recipes in the book have tons of different variations for you to try out. Maybe it's swapping a protein, different spices, different mix-ins, or if it's a dessert, you could make a cake that's a layer cake, a sheet cake, or as cupcakes with the same recipe.
You do that with bread too, in a muffin tin.
Yeah, so you can have a big loaf or make muffins. It's up to you. And I want the book to be a resource that you can use in your everyday life as you need it, not as I wrote it. So it's there for your interpretation.
One of the things that needs to be covered as well is the fact that so many people say, I need gluten-free. Grocery stores don't have it. I need gluten-free. Why not make it yourself?
Yeah, that's what I like about making food at home, because I know what's inside of it. So it's not from some facility. It doesn't have a bunch of things that are difficult to pronounce or I have to look up online. And it can also be like as salty as I want, or as mild, or as spicy, or have the right hit of acid. It's what we like, and only you can make that. If you're ordering food online, it's such a gamble. Even if it's your favorite restaurant, someone's making it.
Yeah. See, that's
every day, and they're different.
That's the very reason why I like making my own pasta, because you're right about that salt. Or how many eggs do I want to use? How do I want to shape it? Do I really want a ravioli? What do I want here? And your book gives people that opportunity to dream, to fall in love with the kitchen.
Thank you. The kitchen is where the heart is in almost every household. Yep. And I love spending time with my kids in the kitchen. We make the stuff together. It teaches them some basic skills about cooking, but also makes them more invested in the meal. So they'll try things out that they wouldn't normally try because they made them. And that kitchen time is so important. It's really irreplaceable.
Yeah. You talk about making that investment in the food. You're going to think I'm a freak. I think part of that investment is hand washing the dishes as you go along.
Ooh, I love that.
You respect everything when you do that.
That's nice. I do hand washing and dishwasher. Normally they're both going because we go through a yacht of dishes at my house because of the business I work in.
But it's so true. I mean, I can fill a sink in a heartbeat. It's not going to take much at all.
I know a lot of the recipes in this book are things that are there's a whole chapter on one pan meals. So I love less dishes. And a lot of the desserts will whip up in 1 or 2 bowls, which is a lifesaver because if you're making something at the end of the day and you have this mountain of dirty dishes, it's going to dissuade you from wanting to cook more. It just is. So the more that you can use less is the better. And my hint for everyone out there is buy a kitchen scale.
Yes.
You can use it for savory or sweet things, and you're going to use less little prep bowls, less measuring cups, and your food is going to be more delicious because it's a perfectly accurate measurement, unlike a measuring cup.
I never even thought about that because I'm always using those dang cups.
I know, and they're kind of like finicky to clean too. I don't like
Yeah, especially when you're making pasta, dude.
Oh, I know.
Salmon. I am a sucker for salmon, but I've never done stuffed salmon, and you put focus on that.
One of my favorite recipes in the book is the stuffed salmon, and I will tell you that when I recipe developed it, I ate the whole 4-person batch over the sink myself. So it was a secret moment that I'm sharing with you, but it's so good. You have a salmon fillet, you do a cut down the middle to create a pocket, and you're going to fill it with this combination of cream cheese, minced onions, dill, and caraway seeds. And the flavor that bakes in is so good. And it's a really nice departure from the normal, olive oil, lemon, and salt and pepper that we might do for our salmon, which is delicious. But, we get in ruts and you need to break out of the rut, try something delicious. And this is something that also can be prepped out a day or 2 ahead of time. And it's so nice to just pop it into the oven with no thinking.
I never even thought about that as well. Prepping it a couple of days ahead of time. When you've got the time, prep it. It's going to be ready for you when it's time to, to put it into the Instapot or the air fryer.
That's one of my hacks for people who don't have a lot of time. If you can scrape 2 minutes or 3 minutes, that's your chopping time. So if you have some prep work to do, get some veggies prepped, have them in a bowl. They can sit on the counter or go back into your fridge if it's the morning. When it's time to make the actual meal, a lot of the work is done and it's just going to go quicker and be more realistic. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you are, I swear dinner is always a panic. You're like, what are we eating? When are we eating? I'm so tired. Help.
Wow. Part of our kitchen duties, or actually our kitchen family, we have the birds in there as well as my dog. I mean, when we're cooking inside that kitchen, our dog really feels like that she's helping us out. I mean, she moves around that kitchen like, okay, I like that. Can I help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopeful eyes. Also, you haven't fed me in years, so just in case you want to slip me a little something, it'd be much appreciated. Thank you. Thanks for your kindness in advance.
Skillet steak with garlic, herbs, and cream cheese. I never thought about putting cream cheese on steak.
It's so good. And let me tell you, I had someone else asking about ground turkey the other day, and they're like, oh, I love ground turkey in theory, but it's so bland. And the book has a take on Swedish meatballs that uses ground turkey, but they are flavored with the lemon zest, your herbs. They have minced onions in them, garlic, and cream cheese as well. And it gives it, one, helps bind things together. It gives it a little bit of extra richness and tang, and it is just so good. Cream cheese is a great hack if you're ever making a cream sauce too, because you can plop a little bit in and it acts as a thickener. It's rich and gives you a lovely flavor as well. So you should have some in your fridge.
It sounds like something I could also use if I'm making homemade tomato soup, where I can thicken things up a bit.
Yeah, definitely. All the good tomato soups are pouring heavy cream and sugar in. Yeah. So you can totally add a little bit of cream cheese and it'll give you that richness and depth of flavor.
Why do we overproduce in the kitchen? Is it because we're perfectionists?
It's really person by person, but my hint to everybody is to just do a little bit of planning. So buy what you need because you kind of have a feeling for the recipes you're going to make, and also keep a list. I'm a little bit ADHD, so I will have 7 cinnamons in my pantry because I'm always am I out of cinnamon? I was going to grab it. But just know what you need to make, and is part of being prepared. The first chapter in the book is the pantry of convenience.
Yep.
Really tells you how to set your pantry up, have those basics, and also what they do, what's the difference between the flours and the sugars and the butters that you'll use. And I'll definitely give you the recipe for making browned butter, which is a secret ingredient for everyone who wants to level up their cooking with almost no work. You just cook the butter down until it has this beautiful caramel color. and it ends up with a nutty depth of flavor that is amazing if you're drizzling it over a steak, having it with your chicken, or making a buttercream out of it.
Don't you love the evolution of how things come together, where it's like you're sitting there going, what is it? I'm supposed to be doing this? How is it supposed to look? And all of a sudden it's like, voila.
You have to have trust in the process, because sometimes things look like they're not going to work. And if you stop, that's not going to work. You have to keep going until that last little bit of butter is in, or the timer went off in the oven, and all of a sudden it's going to be real. Like the chocolate cake has a very thin batter, and you're like, oh my gosh, do I have to add more flour? No, trust the recipe.
See.
It'll be the perfect chocolate cake. The batter is thin, but the oven fixes it all.
See, I would be the one that would add the flour, and then I would be so upset that I did it wrong. I should have followed the recipe. You're right. That trust level is so high.
That's why you need to have like a recipe you're following that you can actually trust. Like we always have cross testers test things over again in different parts of the country with different ingredients in different stoves and cooktops to make sure that they work. Because if you don't, you're really taking a gamble. Like having someone make your recipes is a really big investment of their time, their money, and also the moment that they're baking for. So like maybe it's a special dinner, an anniversary, or maybe it's just your weeknight meal, but you don't want it to be a flop. You
bring up an interesting point there about doing these testers, because when you release a book such as Preppy Kitchen around the world, altitude has everything. You've got Denver, Colorado versus Charleston, South Carolina, who's below sea level. I mean, that really does play a big part, doesn't it?
That's right. And honestly, for high altitude baking, like you want to use a specialized high altitude baking book, because that is a world of difference. But there's other things too, like the brands of flour that are available, the types of butter you use, even the size of eggs in different areas is totally different, which is really nice to consider when you're making a recipe. And one of the reasons that you would have grams measurements, like you use a scale, because like egg whites, 4 egg whites. Well, sometimes the egg's a little bit bigger and sometimes it's a little bit smaller, even if they're both labeled large eggs, I've
gotten used to going into getting the eggs from the carton. And it's only because I just don't measure my eggs properly if I'm cracking them.
Well, that's totally an option, and that's a time saver. So that's one of the things you do to get food on the table, and it's going to be delicious, but it's also going to be something that you're more likely to do because, it's a comfort level for you.
I am a big fan of anything mashed potatoes, and you let us explore.
Mashed potatoes, there's a big debate between russet and Yukon Gold, and just to set it up, you can do either, you could do both. Russet potatoes are going to give you that fluffy mashed potato. Yukon Gold will tend to give you that creamy mashed potato. And I tend to go like 50-50 with both. So the world is your oyster there. And for me, it's always the more garlic, the better.
Yeah, so true. Oh my God.
Just like you could either roast the garlic and plop it in there, which is great. Or for the easiest thing, just take the skins off your garlic cloves and let them boil with the potatoes, and they'll infuse a lot of the flavor and be so good.
Would you say that cooking in the kitchen is discovery? And the reason why I bring that up is because when you talk about garlic, a lot of people don't realize what's inside that little white thing that's in their hand. And more importantly, it's like fennel. I mean, when I use fennel for the very first time, I'm going, you got to be kidding me. This big old thing only happens to be this itty bitty thing?
Yeah, the ingredients we use tend to be fairly limited. So like fennel, so delicious, but a lot of us don't use it. Like for me, the version of that is leeks. Like I love leeks. Yeah. And I think of them as like onion's more demure cousin, have a similar flavor, but a little bit milder. And like one of my favorite just go-to dishes is like scrambled eggs with a side of sauteed leeks. So good. A little bit of like thinly sliced leeks and butter. Delicious. Speaking of breakfast, that's one of the things that you put focus on as well. It's one of those things. It's not supposed to be a huge meal. I mean, breakfast means the fast has got a break in it right now. We just need to get some protein. Yeah, but so many of us are skipping breakfast and having a cup of coffee, which takes you for 20 minutes and you're like crashing. Yep. So like breakfast in a cup is one of the go-to recipes we do. It is similar to a frittata. So you have your eggs, your cheese, the veggies that you're pulling from your fridge. Maybe you want to add some sausage too. And this gets mixed up. You pour that into muffin tins bake it off really quickly, and it's a grab and go thing. It's so good and almost zero work. My kids, for example, on the weekends like different things. George likes pancakes and Lachlan likes waffles. So I developed a batter that works really well for both. It gives you a fluffy pancake and then crisp and fluffy waffles too. So you can make both at the same time with the same recipe, and you can even use a mix, like make the dry mix, have that in your pantry, and just take a couple scoops as you need it.
Wow. Do you feel like a songwriter? I mean, you're taking nothing and making something.
I feel like a composer sometimes. Like you take these elements and which ones do you want to highlight? How will they complement each other? And recipes are all about balance. So even when you're making like a buttercream, for example, so sweet and delicious, but you need to add some salt in there too. Like there should be some balance, because if there's not, you'll just have a flat note of sweetness, which isn't interesting.
I'm a pepper freak. Is it because I'm trying to hide a mistake?
No, pepper is delicious. It's a nice way. And there's so many different kinds of peppers too, by the way, not just all about black pepper. In fact, you could have peppercorn ice cream. How good is that? So the spices are totally up to you. And that's one of the variables that we have in the book. So you're going to, salt and pepper as is a starting point, and you're going to add more at the end to taste, because everyone has a different flavor profile they like. And also, like for all the spices, we have different variations and swap-ins and trade-outs that you could use if either you don't have them on hand or you just don't like them. Like for that salmon we talked about earlier, if you don't have caraway seeds, or if you don't like caraway seeds, you could use celery seeds or fennel seeds or something else. And I tell you about that in the notes.
Yeah, that's what's great about this book, Preppy Kitchen. I mean, even when you're swapping out veggies, that's one of the things that we do with cauliflower. Is we, instead of having nacho chips, we have cauliflower chips, and we use the air fryer to create the cauliflower chips.
So good. The air fryer is so handy. I love it.
Just amazing. So now, where can people go to find out more about you? Because you have utilized the strength of social media in ways that's just so inspiring.
You can find me on preppykitchen.com or Preppy Kitchen on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And the book is available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and most booksellers. So Preppy Kitchen's super easy. It's there for you. If you only have a few minutes, you can still make something delicious.
Dude, I'm really going to enjoy using this book in our kitchen, because my wife and I do the couples challenge, and it's just one of those things where we need books like this to really keep us growing.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I hope you really enjoy it.
I will. You have a great day today, okay, sir?
Thank you so much for having me, and have a lovely day too.
You bet. Be brilliant.
Thank you.
Later, Arrow.
See you, guy.
Funky Fresh.
Hey, what's up, man?
I'm groovy and I'm ready to roll. If you're ready to roll, here's Moon, Heart at 11 after.
Hello and good morning, Moon. How are you doing today?
Hi, nice to meet you. Arrow it is, yes?
Yeah, and you know somebody else that's named Arrow in your family?
I sure do. My nephew.
Amit and I, we laugh so hard at how he even came up with that name. And it's like, oh, my God.
Yes, it is a blessing to have a big name to grow into. It's fun, right?
It is. Speaking of growing, my God, for you to even release this book is maturity, growth, as well as exploring who you're becoming.
I really, I really wanted people to ask that question with me: Is genius worth the collateral damage? And my father was really my first love. You felt like you were the most important person in his presence. And then opposite that, Gail was my first bully. So to hold those two paradoxes, that it was very challenging to experience and important for me to set down.
One of the things that I think one of my connections to it is the fact with Gail, that relationship, because my stepfather was just an evil man. But yet as an adult, it's like, okay, he did say things that I can use as tools today. Have you found that to be true in any way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's so funny is that so many of the things that I thought were true that Gail would talk about they're woven into the fabric of who I am. Family is the most important thing, or pay attention to details. If you get one for yourself, get one for everybody. I mean, there was always these ideas that were that I took literally, and so it was quite a shock that in the end her final word was, in summation, I don't really have any love for you. I don't wish you well eternally. It was such a massive betrayal, and that was a chance for me to just rethink everything that I understood as what family is, what trust is, what loyalty is, what connection is. And I think we all felt like we had put in the time to support my father. And it just came as a real shock. So that's where the origin of this book began.
But Moon, when your forgiveness is stolen, how do you recover from that?
I mean, that's the journey, right? And again, I always wanted to be like other families, and I didn't anticipate that dysfunction would be the thing that unites me with other people. But again, I had a privilege of resources, and so I if people feel like they're a fish out of water in their own home and they don't have a right to exist, and then this is really a book for them as well, because that dichotomy is it's tricky. It's very tricky. And books and music and art and dance, those things saved my life. And so this is my offering as a skeleton key to help set somebody else free too.
One of the most beautiful songs inside this book is the fact that you love to have dinner with your son. I mean, to be with your family having dinner is something special for you.
Yeah, I mean, it really is the most important thing to me. My name, Moon, because I'm, well, I took it literally that I'm supposed to have no light of my own and just reflect the light of my father. I was so literal. And then unit, I was the first born, so we became a family unit. So I have it. I was doomed from the start to just be steadfastly loyal, and so to then be able to parent, to leave that house and parent differently than I was raised, was the most healing experience I've had.
The battle between this is who we are versus, hey, we're either the royal family or we're the Kennedys. How do you put yourself in a position now? It's like, are you a Smith?
I leave the categorizing for other people. I just try to just experience the world every day. Just try to make it leave things nicer than the way you found them, as good or nicer. That was a value that Gail imparted. She said that sentence. I took it in. She didn't behave that way. It's fascinating.
There are so many things in this book that could create a series about Moon. I mean, because you can go in so many different directions with stories. Will you do something like that, or is it I've written this, I'm going to let it go now?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. It depends on how people take it. The book comes out tomorrow, and when the world at large has read it, we'll see where it goes. I just hope that it makes people laugh on top of it. Some of the stories are, I think, hilarious.
Yeah, but from darkness comes comedy. You know that.
I sure do. We grew up with a lot of gallows humor.
I want listeners to know that they need to hear that conversation that you had with Mark Maron. That was one of the most brilliant, honest to God conversations I've ever heard.
It was really fun. I agree with you. It's a must listen. And go to moonunit.com too, and you can see what else I'm up to. I have a tea company, and I just I post all kinds of goofy things. I have a list of resources of people that I really love, and I hope to raise other people up and expose people to resources and set themselves freer sooner.
You got to come back to this show anytime in the future, Moon. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you, Arrow. I appreciate you. Well, I'll remember you.
Thank you. You be brilliant today, okay?
Okay, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.